What's up, y'all? This is DJ Kenny Parker, DJ and producer for Boogie Down Productions / KRS-One, and today I'm back with another video. Now, today's video is part of my series that I call Epic Fails, When Hip Hop Goes Wrong. Now, the subject of today's video is Hollywood. Over my 2+ decades of DJing for BDP and KRS-One, I've been fortunate to meet several actors from television and movies. I've managed to meet Malcolm Jamal Warner when he was on the #1 show in America, The Cosby Show. I got to meet Academy Award-winning actress Regina King way back when she was on the TV show 227. I got to meet the actress Drew Barrymore. I got to meet the actor Kadeem Hardison of A Different World. I even got to meet Hayward Nelson, aka Dwayne from What's Happening. One of my highlights was meeting an actor from one of my all-time favorite shows when I was a kid, John Ritter, rest in peace, of Three's Company. And he even gave me a t-shirt. I got to meet directors like Spike Lee. I got to meet the Oscar award-winning director Jonathan Demme of Silence of the Lambs. I've met comedians turned actors like Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle, and of course the whole host of rappers turned actors like The Fam, Tretch, Queen Latifah, Common, and I even met Will Smith right after Men in Black. I say all that to say I've met quite a few actors and it's been great. However, I have a few stories of some actors that I have met that was actually pretty funny, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So here we go. My first story happened around the year of 1995. I was chilling at this legendary spot called Soul Kitchen, which was a legendary party in New York City where they had this one guy who played a lot of DJ breaks and funk. And a lot of DJs used to be there, a lot of producers used to be there, and a lot of overall people used to be there. And they sold beer and chicken wings as well as play music. So it was actually a pretty cool party. I was in there with about 8 to 10 people. We're chilling in the party, listening to some music, and my homegirl, her name was Adrian. She says to me, "Yo, Kenny, I am so drunk right now that this guy standing next to me looks like Bud Bundy." Now, of course, most of you guys out there know that Bud Bundy was a character played by the actor David Faustino on the long-running hit show Married with Children, which at the time was my favorite television show out. So my friend is telling me, "I'm so drunk, this guy looks like Bud Bundy," and she's kind of wobbly. And so I looked over, we all looked over to see who she was talking about. And lo and behold, it was Bud Bundy in the party with his boy just chilling. Me and my friends looked over and said, "Oh, it is Bud." And we all started laughing right in his face. I didn't mean to disrespect, but I was so shocked to see Bud Bundy that I just fell out laughing. Everybody was laughing because his character is so funny on the show, you couldn't help it. And the actor, David Faustino, looked visibly upset because he was there chilling with his boy, just minding his business, and a whole group of strangers just started laughing at him. So he just turned around with his boy and he was like, "Come on, let's go." And he kind of just walked off. Actually, he like walked off like out the party. Like we ruined his night. Oh, I think about it right now to this day and I just laugh. David Faustino, if you happen to see this video, allow me to apologize for myself and my friends. We did not mean to laugh at you in the party, but it was so unexpected, and the way the girl said it, and the way I used to watch that show all the time, I just had to laugh. My bad, bro. Fast forward about 2 weeks later, BDP had a show in Los Angeles, California. We did the show. The show killed it. I believe at that time, our hit song was MCs Act Like They Don't Know. We killed the show. KRS-One is leaving the stage to go off into the side into the dressing room. I'm still on the stage with the turntables. And who comes out of nowhere and grabs the mic? David Faustino was in the house. And he grabbed the mic and said, "Make some noise for KRS in the motherfucking house." Once again, I'm like, oh, it's Bud. And I started laughing again. I couldn't help it. And somebody in the crowd yelled, "Grandmaster B," which was his rap name on Married with Children. I was done after that. I could not stop laughing. Afterwards, I walked up to him. I introduced myself. He was mad cool, and it was all good. So once again, shout out to the actor David Faustino, aka Bud Bundy. It was a pleasure to meet you. Story number 2 happened around the year of 1990. As y'all know, that's my favorite year in rap. KRS-One had a lecture at a museum in Brooklyn. There was a lot of people there. Me and my man Willie D from BDP was chilling on the sidelines watching the lecture. After the lecture, they had like a little question and answers part where people from the crowd would raise their hand and ask a question. So Chris, KRS-One, I call him Chris, that's my older brother for those that don't know. Chris is calling people out in the audience, next, next, and he's picking people. All of a sudden, this one guy in the back raises his hand, and we looked over, and it was the actor from Good Times. We was like, oh, that's the dude from Good Times. What made it hilarious was KRS-One, without missing a beat, pointed at him and said, "Yes, Michael?" Yo, me and Willie D was on the sidelines dying laughing. We was like, yo, we can't believe Chris just called this dude Michael from Good Times. What's crazy is that Chris had seen that show so many times as a kid, like we all did, that in his mind, he recognized him as Michael from Good Times, and he didn't even miss a beat. He just called him Michael. Actually, his name is Ralph Carter. And what made it extra funny was that Ralph Carter heard Chris say, "Yes, Michael," and he said, he raised his hand and just started asking his question like it was nothing, like he was Michael from Good Times. He didn't say, "Excuse me, my name is Ralph," or nothing. He just heard, "Yes, Michael," and he went right into his question. Hilarious. Fast forward to about 22 years later, I was DJing in a club in Brooklyn, playing some music. It wasn't even that crowded, so people were just coming in. Who was sitting in the crowd? Ralph Carter, aka Michael from Good Times. He actually comes up to me and he asks for a request. He said to me, "Can you play a song by the Marvelettes from 1961? And I said to him, "Hey man, sorry, I don't have any Marvelettes from 1961. He said, "Oh man, damn, I remember that song when I was a baby." And I said, "When you was a baby, how old were you in 1961? Ralph Carter said, "I was 1 year old. I said, "You was 1 year old and you remember a Marvelette song from 1961? He was like, "Yeah, I remember that song playing on the radio." I was like, come on, man. And me and this guy got into a little argument. I'm sitting there telling Ralph Carter, there is no way that you can remember being 1 year old and remember what was playing on the radio. And he's telling me, I remember being 1 year old and I remember the songs that were on the radio. Now, granted, y'all, there was a small percentage of people in the population that probably could remember being 1 year old. And this guy, Ralph Carter, who was a child prodigy and was actually on Good Times at a very young age, could have been one of those people who remember being 1 year old. So I could have been wrong, but at the time I was like, nah, man, there ain't no way you remember being 1 year old. Afterwards, we became cool and we started talking a little bit more. And he actually told me, y'all, that when he was 12 years old, he remembered hanging out in the legendary nightclub Studio 54 with Richard Pryor. At 12 years old, he was in Studio 54. And if any of you guys know what was going on in Studio 54, you can imagine that was no place really for an adult, much less a 12-year-old. Anyway, before the night was over, I took this picture with Ralph Carter. So shout out to my man, Ralph Carter, AKA Michael from Good Times. It was a pleasure to meet you. Story number 3. I was standing in front of this club called SOB's, a legendary performance spot in New York City. And I was standing outside with about 3 or 4 of these guys who I knew. These guys were pretty tough street dudes. We were all hanging out in front of SOB's waiting to go in. When one of the guys see the huge actor Wesley Snipes walking up to the entrance to SOB's. Apparently, this guy, who was a pretty tough street dude, was a fan of Wesley Snipes. He's like, yo, I'm gonna go over there and holler at him. This guy walks up to Wesley Snipes, who had his back turned, and he tapped him and said, excuse me, Mr. Snipes. And Wesley Snipes turned around in a karate pose and said, wow, like that, in a karate pose on this dude for no reason. And the guy was like, yo, I just wanted to say what's up. And then Wesley Snipes was like, oh, all right, and turned around and went in the club, mad disrespectful. My boy was outside, he was tight. He was talking about, yo, we should have rushed him. He was talking mad reckless outside the club. Wesley Snipes apparently hurt this guy's feelings. To this day, I don't understand why Wesley Snipes turned around in a karate pose. I later did some investigating and found out that Wesley Snipes is actually something like a 5 or 6 degree black belt. So maybe that was his default reaction to somebody tapping him on his shoulder. But you know, he was a big Hollywood actor, and somebody says, what's up? I don't know. I don't think you would turn around in a karate pose. You know, usually I don't give my opinion on celebrities too much on this channel, but I'm gonna say for the record that I felt that was uncalled for. Flashback to a few weeks later, we was once again doing a show in Los Angeles, and who walks into the BDP dressing room? Wesley Snipes, acting mad cool. He was walking with like a cane or like a walking stick or something. He was talking, he had shades on, and he was just acting real cool, y'all. I mean, he didn't speak to anybody in the dressing room. He only spoke to my brother. And I just gotta say, I was not a fan of his public persona. Anyway, shout out to the actor Wesley Snipes. He could have been having a bad day. The 2 times that I saw him in person, I don't know. Anyway, y'all, that's my Hollywood stories. I hope you guys found them as funny as I did. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and a like. And if you don't have the book, get the book. My brother's name is Kenny. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.